Hello, I'm Jen DeTracey, and this is My Messy House because MS is raw and real. And this is, I have to cheat, episode 14. So, what's in store for today? Well, if you are just tuning in for the first time, let me tell you, go ahead and subscribe to that subscribe button, write your comments below. Let's hear from you. We are better together. My Messy House is about people like me living with MS and all of the attributes that come with that. And yes, sometimes I have a messy house and a physical house, but metaphorically, we're talking about this up here, the messy house, the swirling thoughts and feelings that can suck us down unless we rise up. So, random thought of the day is about breath, the power of the breath. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether you're laying down, sitting, standing. You can breathe, right? Breathing. Thich Nhat Hanh, who's a Buddhist, I don't know if I call him a Buddhist priest or whatever, but he is a teacher. That's right, teacher. That's the word I'm looking for. And he's a very old man. He's in his 90s. And he talks about breath, of course, being a miracle. Now, I remember when I used to listen to his recordings, I'd lay down and I'd listen to them and breathe. And he talked about life being a miracle and breath being a miracle. And I remember that I felt some agitation around that. I don't know, are you are you there with it? I felt some agitation, sometimes some anger. And when I look back on that, because I still listen to one of his audios on my iPod, often to fall asleep at night, I'll do this breathing meditation, guided meditation exercise from Thich Nhat Hanh. I don't feel that anger anymore. It's interesting, right? I don't feel that agitation anymore. I do believe that life and breathing are a miracle, but I didn't feel that way always. And it's amazing looking back now. I think that probably would have been, at least 5 years ago. Can't remember exactly that I felt that way. And yeah, it's totally changed for me. I am grateful and I feel that. So, I think it starts with the breath. Breath is a way to, conscious breath is a way to slow things down. So I'm not talking right now about meditation. I'm talking about creating that conscious awareness, giving oneself a break from the thoughts that are swirling and feelings that are swirling around in our head. They're nonstop, right? They change, but they're nonstop. And this is something I've talked about a little bit in previous episodes. So just want to invite you for a moment. And this is based on a book by Pema Chodron. She is a Buddhist monk from the States who came up to Nova Scotia, Canada to work at a Buddhist center there. And she's written many books, and all the money goes to the foundation, her foundation, which is awesome. And I read her book when I first was diagnosed. I was doing all this soul searching, reading tons of books initially because I was just so messed up, like a ball of messiness. My house was really extremely messy back then. Now it's just not very tidy in terms of my noggin and my thoughts. So I remember reading that book, but I didn't remember all the details of it. But now coming back to it, almost 8-9 years later, and what she talks about is pausing. And this is something that a lot of teachers talk about, whether they're Buddhist or not. Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now, he talks about this as well. Is just taking moments to pause. So when we consciously take, for example, could be, let's try this. This is something that my coaching teacher taught me. I'm trying to remember his name, and it doesn't come to me in the Dermot. Can't remember his last name in the moment. Butterfield or something. And he talks about just breathing in through the nose count of 5. So breathing in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and breathing out through the mouth. So when you're doing that and you're counting as you breathe in through the nose, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then breathing out through the mouth, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're focused on your breath and you're focused on counting. And when you're doing that, that's where your focus is, meaning you're not focused on the sounds that you hear around you. You're not focused on the pain. I know that I actually, I'd like to give a tangible example around that. So how many of you experience MS hugs? You know, fortunately, I don't have them very often and they come in bouts, but when they come, they are very painful. It feels like a snake is being wrapped around my rib cage. I have a very big rib cage. I've been told it's a swimmer's rib cage, and squeezing all the way up to my throat. It's very painful. And I learned that standing up and moving around did not help at all. And laying down didn't feel good, but it seemed to be a place that I could manage. And so when I get an MS hug, if I am at home, and often it happens weird, it happens at night or in the evening time, so that's very convenient, I suppose. I put a heating pad on my chest, and I know that it will pass. I know of some people that have actually said that it's lasted for days, and my heart goes out to them, because that is just, scary, right? Scary even to have it for 10 minutes. What I do is I put so just going back to how I deal with it, is I put the heating pad on, and I realized that the best way to deal with it was to breathe into the pain and breathe out release of that pain. So breathing into the pain and breathing out. And what I found was the purpose of that was twofold. Number one, the heat was to try and calm my system. And then the breath is to calm the system. And it's about taking my focus away from the fear, the anxiety, the stress, and to the attention of the body, right? The body, the pain of the body, breathing into the pain. So not trying to push the pain away, but breathing into it and then releasing. And I have found that for myself, for years I didn't even know what these what I thought were attacks were. I had no idea what they were. Until one day I Googled, after many years online, I said, there must be some explanation for this. I'd heard of MS hug, but I just thought, it's like, I didn't have a visual of what it was. I didn't do any research on it. And then I found that I felt validated around this. And so I just do that, and the breathing and the heat. And what I discovered in that process was that eventually it disappears. It goes away. It's very painful where it's happening. It's best for me not to physically move. And it was a relief, because all of a sudden I had a strategy that I could put in place, and it came down to breath and being present in the moment. So that's one example. I mean, it doesn't have to be that you're in pain that you do that breathing. And some people say Eckhart Tolle, and a lot of actually meditational people will talk about how, teachers, I should say, meditational people will talk about how in between the breath, so that little piece in between the breath is that moment of spaciousness that is created. So when we breathe in, before we breathe out, there's a little gap there. And that is that spaciousness. Now, this My Messy House version is double the length of most, but it's not something I guess you can just chat about in a brief second. Whoops, I just tapped my camera there. Whoopsie. Anyhow, so I just invite you to write comments below if you're actively doing meditation or breath work, and how that is having a positive impact on your life, and sharing that with other people here in the group that are either subscribers or just popping in to take a look. And I think the more people that write comments below, the more that I can learn from your comments as well. So encourage you to do that. And if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and press that big red button and subscribe to My Messy House, because MS is raw and it's real. I'm Jen DeTracey, and I'll see you again soon.